Here in person, welcome as well to anybody who might be watching via the live stream. We'll do introductions before we get too much farther. Board members here this evening, to my right, Zach Wall and Liz Wise. To my left, Karina Hernandez and Maria Morales. We've also got one of our student school board reps here this evening, Daisy Covarrubias Andrade. I believe our other two board members are playing soccer this evening. Also here to my left, Dr. Theron Schutte, the superintendent of schools, Mr. Randy Denham, our board secretary, and I. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speakers table for anybody who wants to address the board during public comment time. You will be given 5 minutes to speak to the board. Understand that Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Also, in accordance with board policy, board members will not respond to comments so that we can comply with open meeting laws. I think those are the announcements that we need to make. So would you all please join me in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
There are not.
Then we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Wise Hernandez, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Abby?
So starting off, kind of an informational item from state speech, individual all-state speech. Marshalltown High School senior Stephanie Lizarde and junior Paige Howie received individual all-state speech performance recognitions. The duo delivered their speeches in late March at the University of Northern Iowa campus alongside participants from across the states. Both are and then, sorry, lost my spot. Oh, and then poetry out loud. Yep, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I'm really excited here to present to you Isaiah Wilder. He is our two-time school poetry out loud champ and two-time state runner-up champ. Poetry Out Loud is something Extended Learning Program sponsors as a way to enrich and extend the language arts curriculum for our students. Isaiah has just grown so much in this program between freshman year and now, and he is, coached not just by me, but mainly by Gary Zmalik and our other speech coaches. Anything else there?
I don't think so. Not anything that you haven't really covered.
Okay, so Isaiah is going to, you want to stand?
Sure, yeah.
Stand and give you one of his winning poems.
All right. Does this sound good?
Yep.
All right. It was not death, for I stood up, by Emily Dickinson. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lie down. It was not night, for all the bells put out their tongues for noon. It was not frost, for on my flesh I felt siroccos crawl. Nor fire, for just my marble feet could keep a chancel cool. And yet, it tasted like them all. The figures I have seen set orderly for burial reminded me of mine, as if my life were shaven and fitted to a frame and could not breathe without a key, and 'twas like midnight some, when everything that ticked has stopped, and space stares all around, or grisly frost's first autumn morns repealed the beating ground. But most like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar or even a report of land to justify despair.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know both him and one other student are performing May 9th, correct? May 6th? Okay. I know that's being hosted by Arts and Culture Alliance. I don't have the information in front of me right now, but I'll make sure to share it with you. So if you want to see both of them perform live, you can put that on your calendar as well. Up next, we have Lenahan Art at Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center. Lenahan students have been working hard on art pieces inspired by an orchestra piece they heard in January at the Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center. Each of those artworks have been submitted for the Classical Splash Art Contest organized by MAC through grant funding. Out of the entries, 100 distinguished pieces will be chosen to displayed at the MAC, and overall winners will be selected. Lenahan art instructor Nick Beard and mentoring program and specialist area CPDL Julie Thiede are here tonight to discuss the art show. If you want to come on up.
Hello.
We have some slides that are going to give you some of the details. Pull those up. So we're going to share a little bit about this really cool experience that our Lenahan students have had the chance to partner with the MAC, so Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center. So we started kind of planning last summer, actually. It took lots of conversations to kind of pull this off and make this happen. We decided to offer it to all our 5th and 6th graders at Lenahan. So we launched it with a trip. So all of Lenahan 5th and 6th graders got to go over to the MAC in January. They got to hear our orchestra play live. And then they also got to walk through the museum to kind of get them excited and use those two classical pieces. That was their inspiration for the art contest. Then after listening to those two pieces, then they got to interpret them and then use them as inspiration. I'll have you go one more, Amy. Here's some pictures of the visit. So you can see our orchestra director, Derek Clausen, there with the orchestra, and then Nancy Valinga Burke was the director at the time. So she's there showing students the artwork that's in the museum. After the trip, then Nick took over. And I'll let him kind of talk through what that process looked like.
Yeah, first I opened it up to just a discussion about, what did you guys think about the trip? What did you guys think about the museum? And hands down, everyone just absolutely loved it. which honestly is pretty surprising for me. You know, museums aren't always a fifth grader's favorite thing, but I really got a lot of really good feedback, which was exciting for me because then I presented the music again, and I would just play it over the speakers during art, and they got to sit with it for a while, and then they were to demonstrate what they imagine those songs are about. And yeah, everybody participated. Everybody in the school participated. And narrowing it down to 100 was really, really tricky. It was very hard because I wanted to get, you know, someone from each part of the spectrum, lots of cultures in our district, and I wanted to try to represent as much as I could. After I took them to the MAC, they had a panel, board members that would then judge from their point of view, and they had to take that 100 and make it 30, 15 from each grade. I just got them back, I guess, a couple weeks ago, and have matted them and have shared with the students that won. And here's kind of how they look. These are just some examples. This is a 6th grader. This is a 5th grader. I just wanted to really point out the differences in all these. Everybody has a completely different perception of what the music meant to them. And again, 5th grade, mainly 5th grade, I was very surprised at how deep they could go into their going inward and finding what this music meant to them. And it, you know, it wasn't all just the sunshine up in the corner and a swing set. There was a lot of different examples, and it blew me away. It really did. I think the rest of the 100, I'm going to get them on display throughout, you know, probably my neighborhood in the school, but they're just also wonderful, and I really want them to be seen by more people than just me and the MAC board. But yeah, and the award ceremony or the presentation will be at the MAC on Thursday. I highly encourage everyone to come. I think it's going to be a really beautiful night.
So 5:30 this Thursday at the MAC. They're hosting a reception to honor the 30. There's 15 5th graders, 15 6th graders. And we will have the orchestra there again. They're going to play the 2 classical pieces again, so then families can hear what inspired the students, and then there'll be some refreshments. So pretty cool. And we're hoping this becomes an annual contest that we can partner with the MAC.
So what were the classical pieces that they listened to?
One was a piece from Pines of Rome, and the other was Once Upon a Time in Paris, a piece from there.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little snippet from
Yeah.
those compositions.
Well, some of us know how hard it is to judge at the annual art show.
Right,
So
yeah.
I'm
Yeah, you
looking
guys
at
all-
those thinking, those look as good as anything, you know, that goes up
Really
at
do.
those art shows.
Yeah, it was
They
pretty
really
amazing
do.
what they came up with. Yeah,
Yeah. And it will be up, I think they talked about.
they did.
It's going to be up for at least a couple weeks.
So if
No,
you want to go in and view them, you can.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you
That's
very much.
wonderful.
So tomorrow is National Librarian Day. Annually recognized as National Librarian Day, provides an opportunity to express appreciation for librarians' knowledge and leadership. Books and information play a vital role in student learning and development, and our librarians are instrumental in overseeing these resources and supporting many within the school community. Let's remember to show our gratitude to our librarians tomorrow.
Hi, I just invited myself up. Abby doesn't like to brag about herself, so I just wanted to take a minute to brag about Abby. The Iowa School Public Relations Association, ISPRA, held its annual spring conference on April 11th and 12th. ISPRA is the organization of school public relation professionals, superintendents, and leaders interested in fostering understanding and support for education in Iowa. In addition to the conference, there is an award ceremony held to recognize the communication work that school districts have done in the past year. This year, ISPRA received 178 submissions from 20 districts across the state. The Marshalltown Community School District submitted several projects in 8 different categories, and MCSD was awarded with the following. I would just like to note that the blue and gold award means top of class, absolute best thing that was submitted, and Abby's only been here a year. In fact, her anniversary was just a few days ago. And I think I can speak for my colleagues that the communication work she's done for the district has just been outstanding and has been mind-blowing. She showed a video today at Soluciones that I honestly was in tears. There wasn't a dry eye. It was amazing, the story that she helped tell. So she got blue and gold in advertising for its heart work, Become a Paraeducator. In our e-newsletter, Bobcat Tracks, in a video series, Hype for the Stadium Complex, and then 14 awards of excellence. Those are those blue folders there, in photography, social media, etc. So I just wanted to be the one to brag on her a little bit, and of course she can make some statements as well, but we are so proud of you and so happy to have you on the team.
I just want to say that it's an absolute honor for me to share the story of Marshalltown Schools, share the stories of our Bobcat students, our staff, interacting each and every day with my colleagues, walking into the schools, just chatting it up with our teachers, our paras. You know, each individual has a story to tell, and it's honestly an honor each day to tell that story through written word or through a visual image. So thank you.
Congratulations.
I'd just say this, Abby. I mean, the awards are, concrete confirmation of what everybody who's met you and worked with you should have been able to see. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I need to open the public hearing on the 2024-2025 fiscal year certified budget. Anybody here to give comment? No. Any written comments received, Randy?
No.
Anything that you would like to share with regards to the budget?
Tax rate's still dropping, so that's a good news.
Then I will close the public hearing on the 24-25 fiscal year certified budget, and we will move on to the consent agenda, where we have minutes from the April 1st regular board meeting and the special board meeting. Dr. Ryan, any items of note in personnel? No. Okay. We've got 4 agreements in the interagency agreements and contracts, an agreement with the University of Iowa for mental health training paraeducator fellowship to have 3 district paraeducators participate in training and digital learning. A 1-year renewal with TFS results for Career Tree and Education with Purpose licensing, an agreement with Panorama Education Services for access to behavioral data collection tools, and 1 change order request for the CTE project in the amount of $6,524.20 to have a custom color for the garage doors, because as it turns out, blue is a custom color. Who knew? Any questions about any of those agreements? We've got, in gifts, grants, and bequests, the school district has been awarded the Books for Ownership Matching Grant for Reading is Fundamental, the amount of $11,040. This is at least the 2nd time we've had that grant.
Kudos to Erica Fenders on writing that.
In open enrollments, we've got 3 for the current year and 3 for next year. And one of those is a denial, right?
Correct. Yeah, we don't have the human capital and/or capacity to provide the services that the student needs.
Randy, anything to note in bills or the monthly financial report?
I'll just make a note in bills. There was a purchase for the 12-passenger van that was approved at the last meeting or the meeting before. Originally, that was scheduled to be a next year fiscal purchase, but Rex reached out to me. The van was available, and we're still waiting on buses and have gotten confirmation that the buses that were going to be out of this year's budget won't be here until after July 1st. So we just flip-flopped those purchases around, but I wanted to make note of that.
Any questions for Randy about the financials? Then, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Wise, Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Pink sheet looks clean. So, Jenny?
These are the guys responsible for the blue door, by the way.
They requested the blue door.
No, I think the blue door is great. I just didn't realize blue was a special color.
They didn't know it till you said it either, so.
All right, well, good evening. I'm very excited to bring our industrial tech teachers, both Ben and Nate, and I know Todd Dale wanted to come as well, but he's not feeling well. And Jenny Allen, you know her, she's our CPDL. Jenny, I'm going to turn it over to you. They're here tonight to just share with you how the curricular adoption that we adopted last year is going. It's been in implementation mode for about a year.
Yep. So you can go on to the next slide, Amy. Okay, so these are just our industrial arts teachers. Todd Dale is sick today, so he couldn't be here. I'm Jenny Allen, of course, CPDL I oversee the CTE committee, or the CTE department.
I can do it. I'm Ben Coulter. I teach small engines, welding, plumbing, and electrical, and our intro class.
I'm Jake Samuelson. I teach welding, metals, machine metals, advanced metals, intro. Yeah, there you go. Been here this is my 3rd year, so.
Okay, Amy, thank you. So last year, about a year ago exactly, we came to you requesting funding for some kits through DEPCO that we wanted for our Intro to Industrial Arts and Technology class. The kits were highly engaging. They had hands-on materials. They were aligned with the state industrial arts and technology standards, and they provided students with hands-on experiences in electricity, plumbing, 4-stroke engines, and building constructions. And one of the reasons we liked it is because the lessons were really well sequenced. So that was just some highlights that we shared with you last year. And this is a little bit about the implementation. So after we purchased the kits, they were delivered in August, and then the DEPCO trainer from Boone came and met with us at the end of the summer and spent about a half a day with us training us in the kits. And then we had some work time to really dig into the kits. And then right at the beginning of the year, we were able to begin using those with the students. We had a little hiccup this year with our transition to the new area. There was a couple weeks there we weren't able to use them as well as we would have liked to, but otherwise they've been used the entire year. And just kind of as a reminder how that industrial arts and technology intro class works, the kids rotate through all 3 teachers. So each of the 3 teachers teach 2 units, and the students rotate through all of the 6 units, and it gives them kind of an idea on what other industrial arts and technology classes they might be interested in taking. None of Jake's classes the kits weren't purchased for any of Jake's classes or any of Jake's parts of the intro course, but he's here tonight to present for Todd since Todd wasn't able to make it. So the kits that we purchased were for 4 of the 6 units for that intro course: the residential construction, residential plumbing, residential wiring, and 4-stroke engines.
So like Jenny said, just going to read what Todd had. In this unit, residential construction unit. So in this unit, students learn techniques to conserve materials and supplies. In framing buildings, the functions and types of hand tools and building materials, the importance of residential construction, truss roof systems, safe working procedures on a construction site, and platform construction. So they worked through lessons that were supplied by DEPCO through foundation, platform framing, exterior walls, interior walls, roof systems and roof decking, and there's also a careers lessons. By the end of this unit, students had experiences with how to anchor a building to a concrete slab, how to read and interpret blueprints, proper techniques for rough framing, assembling floors, assembling walls and truss systems, and also roof construction. The students' favorite part of this unit was, what did we say? What did Todd say?
So when they get the framing walls, the
trusses.
exterior walls on, and the interior walls, and they finally get to put the trussing system, I think it's called, on top of the exterior and interior wall, so you can see that it's a house that's been formed. So
Sweet, I'm next. All right. I get to do the residential plumbing. All right. In this unit, students learn proper installation of clean water lines and wastewater lines, pipelines, or pipe types in different sizes, common plumbing components, and safe residential plumbing procedures. They work through the different lessons like the lavatory faucet, kitchen sink faucet, wastewater removal, shower head and faucet, the water supply to the bathroom, vents, cleanouts, outside faucets, bathroom tub, wastewater removal, water heater, and they also have a careers unit. By the end of the unit, students had experiences with diagramming a home's plumbing, properly plumbing valves, plumb a kitchen faucet, installing bathroom shower fixtures and drains, and installing drain lines in a home. I would say one of the favorite things students like to install is the shower fixture. They really didn't give me a whole lot of feedback why, but what I can guess is that they don't quite understand how it worked beforehand, and then because it is kind of a complicated little, if you don't understand how it works, it's a little complicated because you have both your cold and hot sides of your faucet come in, and then you have to adjust your knobs, and not really sure what makes it so complicated, but that's their favorite part, so it's kind of neat.
Residential wiring is next. In this unit, this is also Todd's unit. In this unit, students learn safe residential wiring procedures, proper installation of an electrical panel, proper mounting of electrical components, as well as different kinds of electrical components. They work through lessons on service entrance, ground rod, service panels, circuit breakers and junction boxes, convenience outlets, ceiling lights and wall switches, wiring a second junction box, wiring up 220-volt outlet, wiring a doorbell, wiring a three-way switch, and careers. By the end of this unit, they have experience with grounding ground wiring a home, diagram of the wiring in a home, properly wiring electrical components, installing a doorbell, and wiring a light switch. Todd has down here when they first light up or wire up a light bulb and it comes on, that's pretty cool. If you've never, if you just flip a switch in your room and the light comes on, well, now they know what's going on. So he said that's when they're like, oh, that's really cool.
They like to take pictures and send it to their parents. It's really neat.
We like that.
All right, so our next one is forked stroke engines. In this unit, students learn the basic internal operations of a four-stroke engine. They do lessons on cylinder assembly and pistons, ignition systems, cylinder heads, spark plugs, intake, exhaust, carburetors, governor and throttle assemblies, disassembly and lubrication, and careers. By the end of this unit, they're able to describe the function of a piston, assemble a four-stroke engine, and identify the different components, assemble the crankshaft, camshaft, and flywheels and all that fun stuff all together into a nice unit. I think students really like this because a lot of them are just into cars and they want to understand how all that works. And this is a really great unit that just, it's nice and quick. The only thing the students don't like is that they don't get to run them at the end, but I have a whole class for that, so, yeah.
So the students impacted by these kits this year, we had 93 students that went through the kits first semester and 81 students that went through the kits second semester. And the overall feedback that we've gotten so far this year is that the kits added a great structure to the class. So before, the class was kind of teacher designed and so this gives us really good structure. There's workbooks that came with the kit that are easily uploaded into Canvas that have been used. And then it's really nice because the kits had everything that the teachers needed to execute the lesson. So anything that they might have needed for that small engine or for the wiring is provided. And these Depco kits are just overall really a neat experience for the kids because they provide everything that the teachers need that it would take them hours and hours and hours to build and replicate. So it's also real well sequenced. It starts with really easy tasks, and then by the end of the unit, it's built to more complex tasks. And again, the great thing about this course is that it gives kids an idea of the other industrial arts and technology classes that they could take, that they could sign up for future years. And that is it. Do you guys have any questions for the guys?
I'd like to say that, I'm very excited to see how the program's going and the impact that you guys are making towards these kids. I had a scenario Sunday where some mice got in equipment, tore up the wires, spent all day rewiring it, and it was because of a high school class that taught me how to wire. You're going to give these kids lifelong lessons that they'll be able to help themselves in life. So, thank you.
Not a problem. It's fun.
Any updates on, because I know the board approved a significant purchase of virtual welders. Any update on that? How those are going?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can both talk about it.
I mean, we're both using them.
Yeah.
Ben, go ahead.
I'd just like to say I started out using them in my in the welding class because we don't have a great option for using real welders, but we were on those for quite a while, and then there was a nice day. We took the welder outside, and the difference between like first time welds last year where we just like talked through how to do it. I'd show a demonstration and then a student did it, and we got not great results. Having these virtual welders, I've noticed a huge difference in their first welds. Like it's significant improvement.
It's all about muscle memory. So it's your positioning and your speed and your angles are all the same. It just feels a little bit different. But the angles and your speed they're very, very, very accurate. So that's why it makes a better actual weld. So, yeah, they're worth it.
Well, we appreciate your flexibility with the heavy lift, no pun intended, to get all that stuff over to the mall. And so it'll be very exciting when your new spaces are done so we can get you moved back in.
Yeah, we're excited. Very excited.
Howard, do you
I wanted to say something too. Todd's not here, but these three, I don't know if it's an understatement to say there were quite a few materials to move from point A to point B, and then to unpack and try to keep instruction moving forward at the same time. I just want you to know how much we appreciate you and the hands-on learning that you provide for our kids.
Do you have any idea how numbers look for next year?
We could use a fourth teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. Very well.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you have a good variety of boys and girls, or is it majority?
Not really. We have a girls' bathroom.
Oh.
It doesn't get used very often. So I would say this year, though, we have had a lot more in our intro class than last year. So that's quite an improvement.
Yeah. I would say it's probably 97% boys, then the other percent girls, whatever, it's 4%, whatever, 3%.
Math.
I'm not a math teacher, I'm a shop teacher. But yeah, we're trying to get more, but it's hard because it's a different world out there, so. Yep.
Maybe with a fancy new shop.
Get a little, yeah.
More girls.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank
Cool.
you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jeff, Ryan?
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. And for those of you who don't know, it's Mr. Tice, our middle school athletic director, and also a teacher as well. So here today to talk about girls wrestling and have a recommendation to add some staff to hopefully further enhance our program, and of course just give some program highlights. When we first came here 2 years ago and we sat in front of you for esports and girls wrestling, we said we'd continue to evaluate those programs, which we have, and I think they've trended in the right direction. So I'd like to talk about just some highlights, kind of what other schools are doing with their girls wrestling staff, some challenges that we've come through to get to this point, to ask for more coaches, and what our recommendations are as well. First of all, so our program highlights, if you go to the second slide, we had really no idea we surveyed girls, we put it out there, we had around 20, 25 girls initially sign up the first year. We're like, okay, how many of them are gonna last after the first week, because not a lot of them have done wrestling before. So we really had no idea what to expect, but we were really excited with the number of girls that were interested in wrestling, because as you know, the Iowa Girls Athletic Union sanctioned girls wrestling 2 years ago. So they don't wrestle with the boys anymore. They wrestle only the girls. So year number one, we ended with 12 girls that participated at Marshtown High School that completed the season. And then year number one at Miller, we had, I believe, 3, right, Jeff, that participated at Miller Middle School. Now with year number 2, we ended the season with 20 girls who participated in girls wrestling and 12 at Miller Middle School. So as you can see, the numbers definitely jumped up, and just some other notable highlights we had last year. We won 8 duels as a team. We had 6 individual titles as at the high school level. I think the year before, I don't know if we had any. We had 6 individual titles at different tournaments, so I thought that was a very big accomplishment. And we had 17 top 3 finishes at tournaments as well. And pretty much every girl that has come out for wrestling is new to the sport, brand new to the sport. We maybe had 2 girls at least at MHS that had wrestling experience, and maybe 1 or 2 more that had a family member or someone who wrestled. But for the most part, it was brand new to our girls. And as you remember, Gigi, she came here a few months ago. She was our first ever state qualifier in school history. And we have now 2 student athletes next year that will go compete in college at the next level. And you see the picture right there, that's Mia. She is one of our student athletes going to participate at the next level. She's going to Hawkeye next year for the girls wrestling team. So we're really proud of her. She had a significant injury in one of our tournaments, and her season was cut short. But I can with confidence say that if she was healthy the whole year, she also would have been a state qualifier for us. She was very, very good. So we're really proud of her. Good news is she's definitely not done. She's going to compete at the next level. Some of the challenges that we've come, so the way we currently have our coaching staff structured is we have Coach Luke Cross. As we know, everyone knows Luke. He does an outstanding job with our wrestling program, but he has been overseeing both the boys and the girls programs. So that's come with some challenges just because, again, when girls wrestling first came out, we didn't really know when or what. I mean, I don't even know if the girls union knew when or what girls wrestling was going to look like. You know, for those of you who've been to a Bobcat basketball game, you know, the boys and the girls are in the same night, right? We have 6 games, 2 gyms going on all in the same building. Well, initially we kind of thought that's how girls wrestling was going to be structured, but since it's just kind of blown up into now girls are having their own tournaments, they're competing on different nights. We have some nights where the boys and the girls are at the same time, but for the most part, boys and girls are at different sites. I'll give you an example. One Saturday, we might have our boys varsity going over to Dike New Hartford for a tournament. We might have our boys JV going over to Boone for a tournament, and we might have our girls in Marion going over for a tournament. So we might have 3 different teams in 3 different spots. So also, I linked an article, at least in my notes. I don't know if you saw that. Yahoo just put out an article that girls wrestling is the fastest growing high school sport in the country right now. So we think it's only going to continue to trend that way. And like I said, just with competitions being on different days, locations, I think it's evident we now need a separate girls wrestling coach. It's been pretty taxing to do both. The seasons don't start at the same time. The girls start a few weeks before the boys at the high school level. So also with the increasing participation, and I think at Miller as well, I'll let Jeff talk here in a second about what the middle school is trending, but it's also, you know, with right now we only have 1 girls assistant wrestling coach. So consider also that, like I said, most of our girls are brand new to the sport. They'd only benefit from having additional coaching. And also just having 1 coach in their corner. For those of you who've been to a wrestling meet, you might have 5 or 6 mats going at once. We might have 2 or 3 Bobcat girls wrestling at once. So having a coach in their corner during competition will only help our girls. Not having a coach in their corner might set them up for failure. You know, you want those kids to have a coach there to throw their arm around them, you know, win or lose, and be in their corner to support them. So, Jeff, do you want to talk about the way middle school might structure their season going forward?
Yeah, I had my middle school AD meeting about 3 weeks ago, and we had a member of the Iowa Girls Union at the meeting, and she talked a lot about Title IX and giving girls equal opportunities as the boys have. We just finished year 4 this past fall of letting girls participate in wrestling. And it's been, like Ryan said, it's been sharing coaches. If the boys had a meet at the same night that the girls did, one of the boys' coaches would have to go with the girls, so that takes away a coach from the boys for their meet. It's difficult for the coaches, it stretches them. So my goal, and when I talked about this at our last activities director meeting, that we are probably heading towards doing a split season. So, because right now girls have to pick between girls basketball or wrestling. And it's not fair to have them have to make that decision. So, and our basketball numbers over the past 4 or 5 years have been very low. So we're hoping that if the girls wrestle after Christmas break, at the same time the boys basketball is, it'll bring up our basketball numbers and also hopefully increase our girls wrestling numbers. We had 12 girls last year. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm thinking might be close to 15 or 20 this next season. Like our boys coach told me, he says, we can't grow a sport unless we have a coach that's there to recruit, to talk to girls, to get them to go out for the sport. Kind of our goal at Miller has always been, we want kids to participate in as much as they possibly can. And if a girl wants to play basketball and wrestle, I think we should give her that opportunity to do that. The biggest problem we have was, again, another problem we have is space at Miller. You know, girls basketball season and wrestling at the same time, we can only use 1 gym for girls basketball because the upper gym, the older gym, is for wrestling practice. Well, we have a lot of events that occur at Miller over the weekend. A lot of weekends, volleyball, basketball, whatever it might be. So every Friday, I have to help our coach, our wrestling coach, remove all of the mats out of the old gym, roll them up, move them out into the hallway so that they can play volleyball that next Saturday, that following Saturday. Wrestling mats are heavy. I'm not getting any younger, and neither is our boys coach. So that's another issue we have. Now, the only issue I see with going to a split season in January would be space for the girls to practice. And I've talked to Luke Cross about that. He thinks we can work something out where we can get girls transported over to the high school and they can practice with the high school girls. So.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And yeah, just if we're going to build a program, we have to do it right. And just Coach Cross, I know, is more than willing to still support the girls in any way he can, because he absolutely loved working with the girls. But it's something that, again, if we're going to build a program right, have to have a middle school coach, have to have a high school coach. And then going to the next slide, just, I linked the survey in there. And I know that not all the, just because one school does something doesn't mean we have to. I understand that. But, every school listed in that survey has a dedicated girls wrestling coach, and many of them have a lot less girls than we do. They also already have an assistant coach, and again, less girls than we do. Many of them also already have a middle school coach. So we're not necessarily asking for something that many schools already don't have. And within our conference, the Iowa Lions Conference, we have pretty good numbers compared to everyone else, and really only have one current assistant coach. So I think that going forward, the best vision for our program for girls wrestling would be to, if you go to the next slide, my recommendations would be to add a head girls wrestling coach, which would be paid the same as the boys coach, and then continue with the current assistant coach. This year that was Brian Trowbridge at the high school, did a great job for us, and then add a middle school girls wrestling coach at those contract stipends. So my closing thoughts, I shared an email there from a Dallas Center Grimes parent on the next slide. And I think it just speaks volumes to how awesome our girls have been the last 2 years. It's been very rewarding as their athletic director to see the program grow. I wouldn't say it's taken from other sports. Not like a lot of these girls were out for basketball and decided to try wrestling. A lot of these girls were not in a sport at all in the winter. So it's a great way for them to get involved. And I'll admit, the first time I saw the email, sometimes you think, oh man, what happened over the weekend? What did one of our girls do? Then you read through it, and that Nevada tournament is so big. There's about 30 schools there, and our girls showed the most sportsmanship out of any team. You could always count on them to be present, cheering them on. Their energy, their enthusiasm, school sport for their teammates was incredible, as she put. And she was so proud of them, and that we have an amazing group of girls and coaches, and I echo that. And I think if you've ever been to a meet as well, you'll see the girls, how excited they get for each other. I know we had one girl one of our home meets this year, she pinned a girl, and all the girls go crazy, and someone's like, oh, was that like an upset or something? I was like, no, that's just how they act after every match. That's their, every match is the state finals to them. So yeah, it's been very rewarding, and I think going forward, hopefully we can get your approval to have these coaches to keep the positive momentum going in the right direction. And with that being said, I'd open it up for questions.
It's great to see that we're doing what we promised a couple of years ago to do. The question I have on the middle school, to build our program, whether it be soccer, softball, baseball, have we looked into a school our size compared to other schools? Have we looked into doing some type of program there for middle school? For softball, baseball, soccer?
Softball we've looked at, because some other schools are doing that, and we've looked into it, but that's about as far as we've gotten. I've gotten information from other activity directors who do softball. But I think we've done a couple of surveys over the past couple of years to get feedback from girls who may want to try something like that. And I don't think either one of those came back very noteworthy. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but didn't seem to have a whole lot of energy. So, not saying that that can't happen in the future.
Are we one of the only districts that doesn't have those type of programs our size, whether it be softball, baseball, and soccer for middle school?
I think middle school soccer, it's not, that's pretty rare, I'd say. Baseball, softball, yeah, a lot of schools do have middle school baseball or softball. Yeah, obviously some challenges with that would be same things we've talked about, field space, finding coaches. I mean, I still don't have my high school softball staff filled, and we start practice in a couple weeks. So finding middle school coaches would be a challenge. Field space, umpires, all those things. Not to say we couldn't do it, but I think there are still opportunities, at least within the community. Little League does a middle school team, as well as MGSA does a middle school team.
So for the girls, you currently have an assistant coach only? So you're wanting to add another assistant, so 2 assistants?
So we currently have 1 assistant girls coach, but Luke oversaw both, the boys and the girls.
Oh, okay.
So we don't technically have a head girls coach.
Okay.
And that's what we would like to add, separate from the boys.
Wouldn't you say a lot of the wrestling meets have gotten a lot larger, so it would require them to have a coach to be able to go to those events with them? I mean, I'm just thinking, I went to the Nevada tournament and for the girls, and it was huge. Like, they started at 8 o'clock and they didn't get done till 7 o'clock at night. 2 gyms, so it would have been beneficial for our girls to have that coach there, don't you think?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're right, Liz. Some of these tournaments have gotten so big on the girls' end, and you even see ADs who have already sent out like, hey, here's the adjustments we'll do for next year to improve our tournament. So, yeah, absolutely. And again, especially when the boys' season got rolling, it got even more challenging to get people where they needed to be, or if we had a coach who showed up sick or, spouse got pregnant, whatever, it was challenging to sometimes have enough coaches there to support the kids.
And I would say at the Allie Morrison meet, like having the 2 gyms, like the coaches, there weren't enough to go around. I mean, wouldn't you say that? And so you thinking outside of the box, maybe having girls on Friday night and boys on Saturday would help with that.
Yeah, another thing to add to that too is sometimes we rely on the coaches to help with the computers, with the computer systems. If one of the computer systems kind of starts to not work, well, we might need the coach to step away from coaching for a minute to maybe fix something on the computer, help the manager score the match the right way, things like that. So yeah, we've run into that before. I think I had to sit and coach a match once during one of our meets too. So
I think adding a girls' coach is a great idea.
Other questions or comments? If not, then is there a motion to approve the hiring of a girls' head wrestling coach? It's not an assistant coach. You're just adding a girls' head coach, right, Ryan?
correct.
Okay.
And then
And a middle school girls' coach, right?
Right.
So a head girls' wrestling coach at the high school and a middle school girls' wrestling coach as presented.
Move for approval.
Second.
Hernandez, Wall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Now you got to hire them.
That's right. We'll do our best.
We got one in mind.
Yeah, we've had some interest, but didn't want to go too crazy till it was officially approved. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work with the girls' wrestling too, because it's been a beast, I know, so thank you.
Hey, Daisy.
right, so for our school board today, April 15th, if we go to the next slide. Following up with Esmeralda Gutierrez and speech contest, our MHS student claimed runner-up at the Rotary Western Regional Tom Narek four-way speech contest at the West Des Moines last week. So she will be going on to present the district conference celebration in Pella, Iowa on April 20th. So an exciting moment for her. And then we are going to be having a spring blood drive at the MHS. It's going to be held by our XLP student members, but we're also having a couple of NHS volunteers as well helping out with this event. It's going to be at the MHS auditorium this April 24th between 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And then we, this Saturday, April 13th, that was a week ago, I believe, Waterloo East High School, our MHS students from band, choir, and orchestra all participated in what is called the Solo and Small Ensemble Festival. And that is when a couple of music students from all over the states perform solos and group ensembles for judges. And so the judges grade them, critique them, and provide overall feedback to the students as they perform. So it's not really a competition based, but more of a general, how well did you play your piece and such. And to follow up with that, our MHS Orchestra Chamber actually was categorized as Division 1, which is the best score that can be received if you play a musical piece. And so our orchestra solo and small ensembles that performed in front of our judges earned scores ranging between Division 1 and Division 2. So overall, really great scores. And then to conclude, we're having the Student Senate. They're ready, getting ready for upcoming officer elections. So various student Senate members are running for positions such as president, vice president. We got secretary as well. And so each member is making sure to kind of run their campaign and to promote themselves. We got a couple of posters, and they're also making like videos for the student school board as well. And so, yeah. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Who do we want to do handbooks?
Yeah, we've
We
got
want-
people here to
yeah.
speak to them,
Looks like
so.
Tim and Ronnie, you guys want to do the elementary book? 'Cause I don't see anybody. There's no one here from.
Shauna's gonna
You're gonna do the
cover
preschool?
preschool.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Shauna.
Am I on deck?
Yeah, get ready. And
It's about 45 seconds. Really no major changes. Allegations of child abuse, the initial designated investigators moved to Jackie Wyant. Dave Glenn is now the alternate. And then under one more place, under non-discrimination policy, move that to the equity coordinator, which will be Jackie Wyant. Otherwise, it's just the normal dates that we move, link the new calendar in. I'll always go in during the summer and I will check all the links just to make sure nothing's dead or nothing changed. So I'll do that this summer, but otherwise, those were the only changes in the elementary handbook.
any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, for preschool, very similar, we substituted Jackie Wyant for Nora. And then we have fixed, I think it used to say creative curriculum, and now we have Frog Street curriculum, so you'll see that highlighted in yellow as well. That's the curricular resource that we use, and I think we had a presentation this spring/winter on Frog Street. And then there was there's the Frog Street language there, yep. And then we had recommendation around the sanitation schedule. through our desk audit, so just the frequency of sanitizing classroom. Oh, and that's a transportation change. There's Jackie.
Shauna, someplace in here, I think it was the preschool one, they didn't catch one of the Jackie Wyant
Okay.
changes.
Okay.
And I think it might have been on like the alternate, because they have Jackie as the lead investigator and as the alternate. I think it's the preschool handbook. I can't find it right now.
So okay, so we can look at that. I think it'd be Dave Gladden that we'd need to add.
Right.
Okay, yep. That's it.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Shauna. Yeah.
My only change is that Jackie, it's changing Jackie to Nora, or from Nora to Jackie. That is the only change that is in this.
That was easy.
Questions?
All right.
Okay.
Stayed for a whole meeting
Nice,
for that one.
nice being here today. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, Shauna, on that preschool handbook, it's page 13. Thank you. They have Jackie as the lead investigator and as the secondary, the backup. So
She can do it.
well, it's spelled two different ways, so maybe it's a different Jackie Wyant.
Most of our changes at Miller are just strictly semantic. On page 8, we changed students reporting in the morning to when it was home base. It's like when/home base, and then struck that part about the end of the day. And then on page 9, we said students had eaten lunch in Wynn or out of Wynn, and now they will be going to Wynn after lunch. So that's been something that's been going on today, or this year. Moving on to page 11, we added some courses that are available as elective courses. We did not list all our various exploratory classes because it's extensive and it changes often. And then I think we go all the way to page 31 where we just changed home base to Wynn. Oh, one more. There you go. Home base to Win. And then on page 32, we just added a piece about students not having lunch delivered to Miller. That is strictly from the realm of DoorDash. If parents want to bring lunch in for their child, we will allow that, but students are not able to DoorDash lunch.
Have they tried?
Yes, we usually don't add something to the handbook unless we need it, and that's one where we need it. So they DoorDash anything from a Dairy Queen Blizzard to full-on pizzas and everything else, so. So those are our changes.
Thank you. Dave, on page 27, coats, backpacks, and string bags.
Right.
You're saying there that students should leave their coats in their lockers. But then
Yeah,
later
so-
on, we can only have a locker if we don't just automatically give out lockers.
Correct. Lockers are by request. What we have found over the years is about 85% of our students don't use their lockers.
Right. I just wonder about having the language in there about leaving your coat in your locker if no one has a locker to leave their coat in.
Yeah, typically they carry them, so we'll make that adjustment.
And then I also wondered about, there's nothing in here about cell phones.
I believe.
At least not, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, there is. It's under, I think it's under personal devices or electronic devices. You have to go
Personal
to.
technology.
Yeah, personal technology. Trying to find
30,
the page.
page 30.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liz.
page 30.
Page
29.
Oh,
Personal
sorry.
technology.
29, yes, 29.
Yeah.
30 on there if you click on.
Yep, thank you. I missed it, so thank you.
If you think it would be helpful if we had its own section that said cell phones, we would be more than willing to just kind of break that section up. It just talks about how we have our student organizers. But that was an addition last year or
Yeah.
for this current year.
Yeah, and I just read over it when I was looking through it, so.
Make that change. Okay. Nora and Title I. Yep, we'll make those changes.
And these will come back before the board at the next meeting for approval, so just submit to Maria the updated.
Okay. Ken?
Any other questions, comments?
What was I guess, on page 8, what was the purpose of crossing that out? Is it staffing issues, or is it just the kids need help, the teachers will say, hey, we need help this kid?
Yeah, right. Really, we used to have like dedicated help sessions, like in a dedicated space, kind of like we do Saturday school, but now it's by teacher. So teachers make those arrangements with kids, or kids make those arrangements with teachers. That was when we used to have a school vehicle and we ran a shuttle, which we no longer have.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Thanks.
Hi, Mark.
Hi. So most of, we have a lot of things up in the air at the high school, and so a lot of personnel changes. I won't go into detail with those, but obviously we're changing, Dr. Ryan and Mrs. Wyant and Mr. Dale. And so those changes are there. We also have a few schedule changes. Honestly, I think what Mrs. Wyant did was she, at this point, just sort of crossed out the information they had about the schedule because some of it is up in the air. And so I think my understanding is that the concept behind it is like, let's have nothing there if we don't know what it's going to be as far as the daily schedule goes. Because some of those things are still in the works, and she left for bereavement just as we started working on the master scheduling. So schedules, personnel, and then there's a little wording on page 15 dealing with just trying to sort of punctuate a little bit for the leaving the building without permission and re-entering. It's kind of a safety hazard and a constant issue with high school students at Marshalltown High School, and so I think the idea there is to try to just punctuate it a little bit and try to point it out. It's not a new concept, but we're trying to make sure that kids understand that they're not allowed to leave and come back, because we don't want to worry about where they've been and what they're bringing back with them, and just basic safety. We also there's a section on page 29 that changes the wording under infectious illness. I know Nurse Stacy's going to speak to some of that stuff as well, but looks like it basically just says follow the recommendations of your provider as opposed to giving specifics. That way there isn't a conflict between what we're telling them and what a doctor's telling them. And then on the following page, on page 30, there's a section on smaller learning communities, basically dealing with Freshman House, which is really kind of a concept that we aren't really pursuing at this point. And so we just took the wording out for that. And then, can't remember what page it was, I didn't make note, but under electronic devices, it said things about iPods and CD players and things, and so we updated that a little bit. Oh, it's on page 40. And then last note is on student ejections on page 49. And that really hasn't changed. The rules haven't changed. It's just that it went from conference rules to making it the choice of the school. And so we're just wording it as such. So we're basically saying this is the consequence, what might happen if you were ejected, as far as not being able to, travel with the team and that kind of thing. But it just takes out the wording about the conference and makes it our decision because it's been placed on us. Any questions about any of that?
Athletics eligibility. Is that a state that changed from 30 days to 20 days?
The legislature.
Was that a
has
legislative
changed
change? Okay. Other questions?
What's that? Should be pretty early on here, right? Nora, I'll find it and I'll make sure that it gets changed if it hasn't, rather than taking everybody's time for me to skim through and find it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's got to be you, Stacy. There's no one left.
Yeah, I'm the only one here. Okay, so we were just making some updates to the health services portions of the handbooks. Primarily, Lenahan, Miller, and the high school, we wanted to make sure they're pretty much consistent. We've had some old verbiage in there based on the HHS criteria on their new childcare and school exclusions. We updated some verbiage. Can you go to that for me? So on the elementary one, I don't really know what happened, but some of it didn't come off. Can you just share the one that I shared with you? We'll make sure it gets updated. The one that Maria got looked a little different. So, and I feel like I was just here and shared a few of these things with you. So we are just changing that verbiage in that in regards to accidents. Just if treatment is needed beyond basic first aid, parents will be notified. And then we are going to go down a little further here. This is the elementary one. And, okay. Yeah, so we did just, in all of the handbooks, we wanted to make sure we included if the school nurse is not available, a sub-nurse or other trained staff may be there, because we always previously had a full-time school nurses there, and sometimes we are out covering other buildings. So then we wanted to make sure we had that covered. So each of the buildings' handbooks will look like that now. And then we wanted to make sure that all of these were consistent because they did look a little different. So now this has all been updated, so in all the buildings, it will look like this. One thing that was changed on all of them is pink eye is no longer, you don't have to be excluded from school for that. That you don't have to be on an antibiotic for 24 hours either, but it's of course discretionary. If you are a preschooler or young child that's got goopy, icky eyes, we will use nursing judgment, and I'm sure parents probably, hopefully wouldn't send them anyway, but that has been updated on the HHS exclusion criteria. So we updated that. And I think that's it on the elementary. Lenahan, it had hardly, okay, we're at Miller. Miller was the one where we had the most change because there was a lot of extra information. So we are getting rid of all of the extra information that really did not need to be in the handbook, and we made it just similar to the high schools. Actually, it's just the same. The only thing that's different is we have an elevator key and they have an elevator pass. So I just changed the verbiage on that. Otherwise, that would be the only updates on the Miller. There we go. See, a lot of it, we're getting rid of all that. They had a lot of extra stuff, and now we're just adding all of it, so it will just look like the high school and Lenahan's. Okay, and then Lenahan's, no, you're good. Did we already? I don't think you shared that. Oh, you could go back to the other Lenahan's. Yep, the one that Maria had, that looked fine. Yeah. So Lenahan, the only thing we changed on this one was the box, like I told you, and also the verbiage about that there may not be a nurse there. It would be a sub-nurse or someone covering in that position. So that's the only change on that. And on the high school, that's the only verbiage change as well. Just the change that, as far as if a nurse isn't there, that there would be a trained person covering, and also the box is changed just with those updates. All right. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. So those will all come back the next meeting for approval?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Is Christy on the Zoom, Amy? Christy, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Okay.
There you are.
Very good. All right. So you can hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you all. I'll introduce you real quick. So Christy Wick from our auditors, Hogan Hansen, is here tonight to review the 2022-2023 fiscal year financial audit. We did review this with the Finance Committee back at our April 5th meeting as well, but now it's in front of the full board for review. So with that said, I will turn it over to you, Christy.
Great, thank you. And also thanks for allowing me to join you via Zoom tonight. As mentioned, I'm presenting the audit for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2023. I'm just going to highlight a few things that I think are important to you, but if there's anything that I don't cover, or if there's anything you have questions on, please feel free to stop me and I'll try to answer those questions. First off, I'll have you turn to page 2 if you would.
Page 6 on the PDF document, Amy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I got you.
All right. So this is the first page of what's referred to as the Independent Auditor's Report, and it contains our opinion on your financial statements. The second paragraph under that opinions section is our opinion that we have offered, and I'll just read that out loud real quick. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly, in all material respects, the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Marshalltown Community School District as of June 30th, 2023, and the respective changes in its financial position and, where applicable, cash flows thereof for the year that ended, or then ended, in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So that's a really long way to offer the best opinion that we can give on your financial statements. So that's very good. Next up, I'll have you turn to page 5, and this is page 5 in the report document rather than the PDF page.
Page 9.
And what we have here is, and this is on pages 5 through 14, is management's discussion and analysis. And this is a section that I always like to point out to board members. If there was any part of this entire audit report document that I would recommend reading, it would be these 10 pages. The reason being is that it's very comprehensive, yet it's fairly easy to read. It gives some good analysis and highlights from the year, and also the future circumstances to consider. Also, it explains how all those financial statements and schedules in the rest of the report fit together. So just my plug for that. If I were going to read anything in there, I would recommend that section. Next, I'm going to have you turn back to page 60.
67 on the PDF.
And this is just another schedule I like to point out. This is a schedule of revenue by source and then expenditures by function. And the reason I thought that this might, people might find this interesting is because it's a good snapshot of 10 years worth of information in one fairly easy to read schedule. So if you're someone that likes historical data or to look at trends, things like that, this is a good schedule to look at. All right, next I'll have you turn to page 69.
76.
And what we have here, this is the first page of what's referred to as the schedule of findings and question costs. And there's two parts to this. One part is any internal control related findings that we have. So that would be related to the processes of the district. The second part is more compliance in nature. And there are certain compliance items that we are required to look at. So first off, I'll cover the internal control items. And there was just one. It has to do with segregation of duties. This is a repeat finding, and this is not an uncommon finding for school districts in many parts of the state. And this is just a finding due to the need for more staffing in order to spread out the duties in the most efficient way and the most protective way as far as internal controls. So that's something that we'll reevaluate each year. And then, maybe there may be a year where we're able to remove that, but that's what that is in reference to. All right, next, on the next page, so page 70, going to part 4, Roman numeral 4, these are where we start with the compliance findings. The first one listed there, 23, Roman numeral 4A, has to do with the certified budget. And this just had to do with the fact that the expenditures for the year exceeded the certified budget in the non-instructional programs function. So not looking at it overall, but just in that one particular function. Then on the next page, page 71, we have number 23, Roman numeral 4H. This has to do with certified enrollment. The finding is that a variance in the basic enrollment data certified to the Iowa Department of Ed was noted, and the variance resulted in a decrease of 18.78 students. So I think we identified, in working with Randy, we identified a process issue that should correct this going forward. I think that's been addressed, but we have to report that finding. And then the next one is item 23, Roman numeral 4I, supplementary weighting. And this has to do with variances in the supplementary weighting data certified to the Iowa Department of Ed were noted due to incorrect counts related to concurrent enrollment courses. The variances resulted in a decrease of 0.123. And those are the units used for measuring those courses. So we know that that's not a significant variance, but we're required to report that nonetheless. And then on the last page, page 72, at the top, item 23, 4K, certified annual report. And the finding here, the certified annual report was certified timely to the Iowa Department of Ed, but we noted differences between the amounts reported and the district's records for employee benefits, other post-employment benefits, and pledges receivable. And this simply arises due to the fact that we're doing a lot of the audit work after the certified annual report is filed. And so there were some adjustments identified after that, and those are able to be adjusted through the filing of the subsequent year's certified annual report. And then lastly, I just want to say a big thank you to Randy and the staff and the office staff for all of their assistance. They're really great to work with, and we appreciate your relationship. So thank you so much. And with that, does anybody have any questions?
Doesn't look like it, Christy.
Okie dokie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Brandon, is there anything you want to speak to or address with the audit?
Yeah, I can address a couple of the findings just real quick. With the certified budget, with that that non-instructional, I think it's important to point out that it's not an overspending of cash per se. So how that occurred was there is a liability that we are required to report each year on the district books. It's called a other post-employment benefit liability. So basically, in layman's terms, what that means is that we have to calculate what the liability would be for retirement benefits if the district were to shut down as of June 30th. So we work with an actuary who gives us data and updates that report each year. We usually get that report anywhere between May and July, depending on how soon we're able to turn around the information that they request. This last year, we received the actuarial report, I believe, in early July. So when I had done the journal entries and done the true-ups based off of the actuarial report, that's what drove that over expenditure in the non-instructional. So we have to book the liability, and the liability is offset with an expense on the books, which is how that overage occurs. So just said not actual cash that overspent on the budget. It's just an accounting entry that we have to make, and that's what drove that. So that makes sense somewhat. Christy touched on the certified enrollment. Again, there was a process that, thanks to Dave Stanfield, actually, he helped catch this. We had found that there were students still being tracked and counted in the system. Typically, our process is to drop students that don't report after 9 consecutive days. And we found that they were still being kept in the system, which then required them to be counted, and then they were dropped later in the spring, but they were already reported for state counting. So Dave, in his infinite campus wisdom, was able to develop a system and a reporting mechanism within Infinite Campus so that we can still track those students, try to get them back in the school, but also ensure that we don't inadvertently count those students as well. And then with the certified annual report, what that was that was a journal entry that got missed. So for our early retirement benefits, those get, we pay those benefits and expense them out through our general fund and payroll, and then there's a journal entry that's done to move those costs. For the general fund and the management fund, we just missed getting that journal entry made. The correcting entry's already been made and has been reflected in all financial reports and forecasts that has been shared with the board.
Any questions for Randy?
Every year we always hear, this year from her about the duties.
Segregation of
Yep,
duties.
and you know, trying to be mindful of the taxpayers.
Mhm.
We'd love to have more people, but do other schools do anything differently to get to fulfill what?
Outside of hiring more staff? Honestly, hiring more staff is really the only way you can truly get away from that comment. There are some districts, and we're no different. We do implement compensating controls where we can. So, for instance, almost everything that goes through our office gets a review, sometimes a second review from either Tammy and or myself. So we try to get as many eyeballs on things as possible, separate things where we can. To your point, there are some districts that will have finance or audit committee members maybe come in and, let's say, review bank reconciliations once a month, or actually come in and pull invoices and review those types of things, look through receipts. Sometimes it doesn't even have to necessarily be a board member or an audit committee member. Sometimes they'll pull in just community members, say someone from a local bank, to come in and look at that. So there are options out there. We do look at that, but sometimes it's just difficult to get people to commit that kind of time on a regular basis.
Any other questions? If not, we do need a motion to approve the 22-23 fiscal year financial statement audit as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Wall Wise. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Amy.
Well, we're jumping down.
Did I skip something?
You skipped like.
Oh, I skipped a whole bunch, didn't I?
I mean,
I
okay.
scrolled.
I mean,
I
if I'm
scrolled
done
all the
for
way
the night,
down.
I'm
All
all-
right, Randy, keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
The next item on the agenda is an item for participation in the Iowa Local Government Risk Pool. This is for our natural gas program. This was presented to the audit committee, or excuse me, the finance committee back on April 5th. What this program is basically allows us to purchase risk insurance, which then would shift natural gas costs from the general fund to the management fund. This would allow us to have a set fixed cost each year that would allow us to be able to budget for and would protect us from the potential volatility from natural gas prices that can tend to rise or spike depending on weather conditions, as well as just the natural gas market itself. Estimated savings that estimated costs that would be shifted from the general fund to the management fund would be about $300,000 a year. So I don't know, but if there's anything that finance committee members maybe want to add that I didn't touch on?
No, my sense of it is that this is, it's budget neutral on the whole.
Correct.
Right, but it moves a significant amount of money, not an insignificant amount of money from the general fund to the management fund.
Correct.
Right, so it frees up some spending capacity in the general fund.
Helps keep those general fund financial metrics healthy where we want them to be.
But shouldn't, on the whole, cost any more.
Not, no.
Right.
Yep, correct.
And I guess from my perspective on the finance committee, I thought it seemed like a good avenue to pursue. I don't know, Zach?
Yeah, it's just, looks like we're gonna spend about the same either way. So we can freeze up our general funds.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the resolutions and agreements to join the Iowa Local Government Risk Pool Commission Natural Gas Program as presented?
So moved.
Second. I guess I have a question.
Yeah.
It says Anson Junior High on the contract. Is that still a thing? Is that a building name?
I think that on the natural, because we use this program, this vendor we currently still purchase our natural gas through, so we're just going to shift to this program. But yeah, I think on the meters in their records, I think this building is labeled as Anson Junior High.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's just that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see Woodbury on here either.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Woodbury? Okay, yeah, I'll have to double check on that, I think. But yeah, it should include all buildings, so we can work with them and adjust that, make sure that they include all buildings and all meters. Yep.
Yeah, Rogers.
I think those may be because they're geothermal systems in there.
Okay.
And I have electric water heat.
So do we even have natural gas at those buildings?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think about it.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Why?
Natural gas equipment at either of those two buildings.
That would explain it.
But yeah, we can double check and make sure that if they do, we can get those included on there.
I think we have a motion, but we're in need of a second.
Sorry.
Sure, a second.
Okay. Wall, Hernandez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
It's Wise Hernandez.
Yeah.
I thought it was you.
It was me.
That was the other W.
No,
All right,
it was
you
Liz.
got
I
it,
got
right?
it. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0. The interim, I forgot. So much time passed. All right, Randy, you want to talk about the 24-25 certified budget again?
That hasn't already been talked about over the last two, no, no changes from what's been previously presented. So the budget that's been presented, it is in front of you, is a total tax rate for next year of $14.75, which is a decrease of the current rate, which is at $15.99.
What's $1.25, basically,
yeah.
drop in the tax rate.
Correct.
$1.25.
$1.24, yeah.
$1.24.
Yeah.
Any questions for Randy? If not, is there a motion to approve the 24-25 certified budget as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Was that Maria?
Yes.
Morales, Wall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. And then you'd like to amend this year's budget?
Correct. and it's not because of the audit, although that doesn't hurt. The main driver behind this is the other expenditures, which is due to the construction costs that we're experiencing right now with the project. So just timing of when expenditures fell for the stadium project, and then transitioning over into the tornado safe room and the CTE projects as well. So an amendment increase there of about $10 million to our other expenditures. I did go ahead, while I was having to amend for the other expenditures, I did look at the other functional areas and did make a recommendation there that to slightly increase those by a few $100,000 in each of those areas, as we're spending down the last of our available ESSER dollars, which will be by June 30th. But when we do these budget amendments, it's really just increasing these instructional areas for transparency purposes. There's no increase to the tax rate. There's no impact on the tax rate or anything of that nature. So similar to the regular budget process, we do need to hold a public hearing for the budget amendment. So the action item in front of you tonight is to request setting a public hearing for the next board meeting.
Are there any questions? And is there a motion to set a public hearing for Monday, May 6, 2024 at 5 p.m. and direct the board secretary to publish the budget amendment in compliance with Iowa code?
So moved.
Second.
Morales, Wise, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, now is it Amy's turn? Okay.
This one's, okay. Before you is a component of the CTE wing that was already included in the budget for the CTE wing. So this is the component where we've added rooms to that high school wing, and we'll need to then add the audio enhancement that's already in the rest of the building as well. We pulled that out because we'd already been working with this vendor who is a member of Sourcewell, which it's a consortium that ensures that we're getting fair pricing. So I just have before you what it'll take to finish the new rooms and ensure that the systems are big enough now for the spaces that are going to be renovated in that CTE wing.
Any questions?
Amy, where are the funds coming from?
This is already budgeted for, so the same place that the CTE.
Save funds.
Yes, there we go.
Because this is part of the project.
It is part of the project.
It's always been part of the project.
Yeah, we just took it out of the RFP so that we could continue working with the vendor who had already installed everything. It just makes sense that we stick with the same vendor.
Other questions? Then we need a motion to approve the proposal for the addition of the audio enhancement to the CTE rooms at the Marshalltown High School in the amount of $80,874.19 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Wise, Hernandez? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Not a lot surprises me. I am usually a pretty planned person, and we have replacement cycles for everything that we do. But I had planned to look at this project a little in the future. However, in the past few weeks, our firewall has actually been failing. So we're experiencing hardware failure, and it's one of the
well, the most important pieces of our network infrastructure. So we do have saved funds for replacement cycles. So funds that I would have used anyway this summer to replace other things. I'm just asking that we replace this just a little sooner than what I would have normally asked. I would almost call it an emergency. We were lucky enough to have our good friends at Grantwood AEA, shout out to the AEAs, they had a backup and they were able to let us use it and get up and running. So it was either that or be down until we could buy a new one, which sometimes takes weeks or months, which wasn't really an option. So anyway, we worked with the vendor that we've been working with. They're a member of TIPS, which is another one of those consortiums that ensure fair pricing. And they've been incredible to work with. The engineer that helped us come up with the spec that we need that includes more bandwidth. So with E-rate, we've been going up with bandwidth. So with that, you need bigger equipment. So helped us come up with this proposal, and then he actually helped me remotely configure this firewall while my network admin was at a conference. So it was a really fun week last week. But anyway, I bring this to you with the hopes that we can get this as quickly as possible so we can return the borrowed equipment and continue to be up and running even better than before.
So it was Grantwood we borrowed it from?
Yeah. Not a lot of people just have an extra firewall that's big enough for a district of 12 buildings to use. So luckily, this vendor had a good relationship with them, and they had just replaced their firewall and let us borrow it.
It hasn't been that long since we replaced the firewall, has it?
It's over 5 years old.
Okay.
But we usually do it about 5 years old. So this summer was actually when I was really going to take a look at it. So, yeah.
It felt like it hadn't been that long. But time flies.
And sometimes when I come forward with proposals, it's licensing for firewall and it's components that work with the firewall. So, yeah.
Okay. Questions? Then is there a motion to approve the RTI proposal for a new firewall in the amount of $130,600.27 as presented?
So moved. Second.
Morales Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Todd.
How are you?
I'm good.
All right, so the first one I had was for the Lennox, the 2 additional rooftop units for part of the CTE. As you well know, we ordered 10, I think it was back in October of last year, for the project going on now, so we could get ahead of the game and get those. Those should actually arrive this week, I believe Thursday. So they'll be on site, ready to go for that. But also during that same time, I was working with engineers and architect, trying to look at a few of these other areas that we may have missed during the initial HVAC project and then going into the CTE. Well, the orchestra room at the high school right next to the auditorium and the band practice and chorus rooms at there. Both of those had just old heating units, provided no additional cooling capacity to them. Once again, they were very antiquated units. The new rooftop units would give both heating and cooling capacity to that. Like I said, once again, I'd be purchasing through Lennox. They have gotten these with tips, so, I'm going to get the best price, plus also the fact, partnering again with local manufacturer here. The total for that would be $24,871 to get these 2 units. And when I spoke with Randy, it would either be like PEPL or save funds for that.
Questions? Yeah, my question was going to be the funding source.
PEPL.
PEPL. Okay. We need a motion to approve the purchase of the 2 rooftop units in the amount of $24,871 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Wise Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And then the next one I had, I don't know how many of you are familiar with our current work order system we have. School Dude, you probably see it known as Brightly. Being a former maintenance guy, was never really a big fan of the platform. It made it hard if people submitted work orders and I couldn't actually touch base with the submitter to let them know the status of something or anything. I found this company, Flowpath, during one of my director's buildings and grounds meetings. I think it was last fall. I reached out to him, started having conversations, asking him more and more about this new platform. It's a new work order system that not only what I'll be able to do with that is when you submit a work order and say I'm an actual tech that goes on site to check the issue, when I show up there, I'll have the work order will be right on an iPad or a tablet. I can look at that, say it's a replacement or I need more parts. I enter that information on that work order, submit it. You would get a notification. So you already know a tech's been assigned. This platform also allows me to sign multiple techs, which School Dude does not. So you have an idea of that status. If somebody else would come into the same space and they try to submit a similar work order, as I'm entering that, it would prompt me, hey, is this what you're trying to send out? So it also helps from getting multiple work orders for the same exact thing. When I was working through them on that, I asked what other items they offered. Another thing they had was asset management. It was 2 weeks ago, I brought Amy Harmson in to take a look at that with me. The company will actually provide like QR codes that I could place on equipment, custodial machines. My first thing I had told the company is all this new HVAC equipment I'm putting in, it would be great for that. Say I have an issue with it, I go, I scan it, it comes up, and I can actually track any service that has been on during the life of that unit. Like Amy, on her part, she thought that would be great for Jerry Hill, who does all of her Chromebooks. A lot of times, if she gets a Chromebook, it might be a repetitive one that keeps coming back. Well, that would give her an idea. Hey, this thing's been here 5 or 6 times. That problem looked really good. It can also help with tracking our inventory. There were several different things I could use for that. Another option, because with the Orpheum and just all the scheduling, building scheduling we have throughout the district, we've never really had a good scheduling software other than the facilities scheduler that the high school uses for a lot of the sporting events and everything. This would also put the same scheduling format. It'd be a one-stop shop. I mean, you create work orders, you could rent or schedule a building rental. When you go down through on a building rental, for instance, You could check off, you know, hey, I need tables, I need chairs, I'm gonna need custodial, I need a projector. Once all that information's all in there, you'll see a full calendar, obviously, to see, is it available? If everything's available, and it is, once you submit that request, it will notify automatically all the players needed to make that happen. The initial cost to get started with it comes to $16,800. Part of that is a $3,000 onboarding fee, which gives us our, we have a success manager. They would do all the training. You know, if approved, they're gonna start working on getting this switched over right away because School Dude, we would actually pay that come July 1st again. It's an annual payment like this one is. I would cancel that. So I still would have coverage while we're trying to learn and get everything migrated over. Figured it'd probably be the best time for us to work this summer. And then by that time, when everybody comes back, we should have a pretty good handle as far as building secretaries and principals and my staff with that. After the first year, to have all three of those in the one package, it would come to $13,800 annually for that, and that would be a general fund expenditure. The base format we had originally wasn't School Dude like a couple $100 less, I believe so. So I mean, pretty much about on par with what we were paying, just far better, you know, user ability to it and just so many more options, and we can customize so much more of it.
Questions?
Would anybody be able to put maintenance requests in? So like if a teacher had a problem with the door, they could
Correct.
go in there? Okay.
And say though, if if they did submit it,
Yeah.
and say the custodian had already done that, you know, they'd start to go through and, oh, here it is. They can also then kind of follow some of that too, to see where it is. I mean, that was another great thing about this platform is School Dude only allowed you to hit basically one individual. You can add and bring others into it as well. If, say, like it was a air handler unit and I called B&G HVAC or, you know, whoever, Capon and Brown, to come and work on it, their tech could even make a note. I could give them a link and they could even send information too. So I think it's gonna be a far better system in that, because then we won't get all the double or triple work orders and people know more, you know. They're not just hanging out there if somebody's been there and just didn't get to meet with them.
So what I'm hearing from you, you'll be able to inventory our items and track our items.
Correct.
Going forward, and our cost-wise, it's minimal compared to what it was before.
The one thing I was kind of excited for is, like I said, especially with all this new HVAC equipment and everything we've had at the few last buildings, is once I start getting over, I want to try to get like ants in high school, all of those new air handlers on that. That will give us a running record. It made me think of another thing. I can also set it up building-wide. Currently, I have folders and manuals in the buildings that the custodians use for filter changes. It can even send reminders to them directly in their email. Hey, it's coming up next week. You should do these filter changes. It keeps running totals. Like I said, with the QR codes, I can mark stuff. So I can see over a course of, you know, 5 or 10 years, hey, I've spent this much money on this unit. Is it time to replace it, or, you know, where are we at? And like I said, I think it'll be great because I think it's going to add a lot for Amy's department as well, too.
Randy, we talked, I think, or I read somewhere about insurance, you know, buying insurance policies for.
Yeah.
Would this program help with that, or that program would do the same thing that this is doing?
No, that program wouldn't do what this is doing. I think from an insurance standpoint, you touched on just having an inventory and asset management list. That would help tremendously for insurance. So by having this platform and being able to more accurately and efficiently tag and identify items in the event of, let's say, a derecho or a tornado or something, some sort of catastrophic loss, to be able to have that record to be able to hand over to the insurance agent or the adjuster that comes on site would help tremendously, and would also just save on insurance premiums and things of that nature. But no, that break fix program we talked about previously would not, that's different from what Todd's describing here.
Amy and I did kind of talk about that also, and thought this would help us with that because you have all the documentation when you are working on these devices. So you could easily pull it for them in the event. So it might save in the long run if we did ever go something with that too. Just sheer manpower in trying to have all that information right at your fingertips.
Any other questions? Then is there a motion to approve the purchase of FlowPath Facility Management Software in the amount of $16,800 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wall Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks, Todd.
A lot of policies.
A lot of policies.
So we've got two coming back for first reading. One that Randy presented, 709 Insurance Program, which had an amendment, and then 710.4R1 Meal Donation Allocation Regulation, which was amended as well. These are the same as presented to you at the last meeting. I'd recommend approving and waiving the second reading.
Any questions? Is there a motion to amend 709 and 710 4R1 and waive the second reading?
So moved. Second.
Wise Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Karina.
Me next. So 711.1R1, students' eligibility for bus service, no changes. 711.2, students' conduct on school transportation. There's, in addition, the transportation director and/or was added, so that can come back for review.
Okay.
Where am I at? 711.2R1 student, no, we already did. 711.2R2, use of recording devices on school buses. I have a question on that one. Do we have devices in every school bus as far as the camera?
Not every bus.
Okay. Oh, okay. Just a question I have. Wasn't sure. Okay, that one has no changes. 711.3, extracurricular activities bus service, no changes. 711.4, summer school program transportation service, no changes. And 711.5, transportation of non-resident and non-public school students, no changes. I have a question on that one too. What does it mean non-resident? Like, what is that? What are we talking about here?
On 711.5?
Yeah.
Is it outside of Marshall County or Marshalltown?
Like, we don't provide busing to them, do we?
We provide busing for the parochial and the Christian school.
Oh, okay, okay.
Going back to that, what she's talking about, I saw there's some legislation where the school district could cross lines to pick up kids. Did that go through?
Has not yet.
Okay.
they're wanting to allow for basically buses to come in for open enrollment purposes and a certain amount, so.
Well, that one has no changes.
Any questions for Karina?
So one of those will come
Yep.
back.
So 7-Eleven 2 will come back. The rest of those will be marked as reviewed.
All right, so a couple policies that Nora reviewed, 405.02, licensed employee qualifications, recruitment and selection, and 411.02, classified employee qualifications, recruitment and selection. In both cases, there was an amendment reflecting the Iowa workforce development as where the jobs are posted. So those two will come back. I'll jump down to, we've got some ones that we're recommending be deleted. 504.05, student fundraising. It's going to be replaced by another policy. 504.05R1, student fundraising regulation. It's going to be rolled into a newer, different policy. So those are recommended for deletion. I'm going to jump down to another deletion. 707.02, treasurer's annual report. These policies are being consolidated into new policies. 707.03, publication of financial reports. So those would come back for a first reading for
right,
deletion.
to delete. Yep. Any questions about any of those? I mean, seems pretty straightforward. Okay.
Then we've got 704.01, local, state, federal miscellaneous revenues. And these are all policy primer recommendations. I don't know if, Randy, you want to speak to any of these or not?
Just basically language updates and some title changes. There's nothing significant or major in any of those policy primer changes.
You got 704.06, fundraising within the district. Significant change on that. 704.06R1, fundraising within district regulation. That would come back. 706.01, payroll records, we're marking that one as reviewed. No changes to that. 706.02, payroll deductions, that has some changes in it. 706.03, reduction in employee pay, will come back for an amendment. 706.03R1, reduction in employee pay regulation, also coming back with an amendment. Language change through ISB. 707.01, presentation and publication of financial information. And 707.04, audit. Those would all come back for a first reading due to being amended due to changes that ISB is recommending based on legislation.
Yep. Okay. Are there any questions about any of those? Then 706.01 and 707.06 will be marked as reviewed. The rest of those will come back either to amend, adopt, or delete at the next meeting.
Correct.
Okay. And at that next meeting, Maria will be doing the initial review policies. we're getting to the end of the school year, so there's some final committee meetings for the year, so just keep an eye on those. Committee reports, I don't know that there's any committee meetings other than the finance committee, and we talked about the audit report and the natural gas risk insurance. So I don't know if there's anything else to add. Okay.
I'll just throw out a kudos to Shauna for the significant work over the past year to prepare for today and tomorrow. With the Soluciones conference, I didn't know this till today, but it's the largest one they've put on across the country with a number of participants. So obviously there was a need, both for us and I think there's participation from 15 different states across the country. So people flew in from California, Texas, Tennessee, all over the place for today. So everything went really well other than the band room air. Hopefully that new unit will help us for the future.
Todd's
there.
going to take care of that for the next time.
Yeah.
Any items anyone would like to see on a future agenda? What have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown?
I think it was nice to see what we implemented last year with the curriculum, the different program, the CTE projects, and see how that's grown and hopefully grow more. I think it's a lifelong skills that they provide and even a career path for many kids.
The need of personnel for wrestling, I mean, that's pretty neat. For the safety of our girls and even just as a support. But it's nice to hear that it's growing.
After many, many meetings and hearings, we approved the budget, Randy.
I thought the artwork that they showed us from Lenahan was amazing. And it's so cool that we've got so many kids that are performing at such a high level in the, I guess you'd call it the theater arts or in speech, debate, etc. We have Esmeralda, who was one of 4 people from across half of the state recognized for her Rotary speech, and then Isaiah and the success he's had in the Poetry Out Loud. And then we didn't have the 2 students here, but we had 2 students that got all state in speech this year. So it's very cool.
Anything else?
They say that it's open the public Thursday at the back for
Yes.
to see the awards.
Open house for
Open house. Okay.
Artwork.
5:30, right?
I think it's, yep.
Our very own highly recognized director of communication. It was very touching to see that video today in front of 15 other states represented at our conference today. And yeah, that was really neat. I had not seen it, so I didn't expect it. So it's pretty nice. So very proud of that and everything you're doing as far as visually and really highlighting our district, especially with our kids.
Can the rest of us see the video sometime?
Please? Yeah. Yeah.
It is one of many that will be very impactful, I think, over the course of the next year here.
Very. Yeah, I didn't expect it and very moving.
A student mentioned the teacher and he had no idea. So in front of 700 people on the big screen, we got a big shout out and it was really, really cool.
I think that's the only thing I kind of regret with that reveal. I wish someone could like record his reaction.
Oh. Was he?
I know. Well, okay, maybe I'm wiping his eyes when he stood up.
I wouldn't be, yeah.
It was really, really sweet. It was, Luis was talking about when we
the fact that it was utilized in his presentation, in Luis's presentation, you know, that's pretty neat.
I'm gonna pull it up really quick. It's just a couple. Yeah, while she's pulling it up, I'll give some background behind the video along with the others that are being produced right now. So probably shortly after Embrace the Lead was launched into the community, I went back to my office and I kind of sat there and ruminated on what is next. How can we expand? What are we missing from this video? And I really thought it was important to kind of zoom in a little bit closer to the people that are within our buildings. So I tend to think a little bit bold and go shoot for the stars. So instead of one video, myself and Marshalltown High School grad, Austin Chatterton, we worked together to work on 7 videos. 3 students, 4 staff, so those will be produced and then launched into the community soon. We're working with Project 7 right now to do a little bit of tweaks to the Embrace the Lead logo, so that's kind of being worked on for motion graphics. So what you see tonight might look a little bit different in the future, but this video here is too good not to share. I mean, it fit the theme of what Shauna was talking about with the conference today and tomorrow perfectly. It fit, you know, the keynote message perfectly. And I think it really emphasizes, you know, what we're doing within the classroom, our staff, our programs. It's making an impact.
It really feels like home when I walk in because I just really feel comfort and creative, that I feel safe in that room no matter what. And feeling the texture, seeing the texture of other students really inspires me to create more, to feel from water to dry to heat to colors, and it's a safe place for me. It's really an honor. Like this, in my high school year, I've gone to art museums, and just standing there and to be in a place where, whoa, like I never see myself in this position. And, you know, my parents, I wish I had my parents with me, visiting colleges, visiting museums, looking at libraries. And I really wish I had my parents to observe, like, this is your hard work coming into action. Like, I get to view these experiences. And it's really, really an honor to feel a sense of community. Teachers here in Marshalltown have pushed me into believing that I can be something more than what the public eye sees in me. It has given me a sense of hope that I may have a future outside of high school, outside of college, that I have the options to be what I want. It has shown me my strengths and weaknesses, and I'd like to be a ceramic instructor, but Marshalltown has given me the opportunities to have backup plans as a medical translator and be put in a leadership position with social work. I'd say Mr. Niehaus really has pushed me into not doubting myself or being like upset with my art because it was new. I was still growing. He has been a big inspiration of always just checking in on people. We're all humans no matter what. And so just by checking in, like, hey, how are you, really uplift someone. And if I want to be uplifted, I want others to be uplifted as well. To me, Embrace the Lead is to stand up. Even if I don't have a voice, let me have a voice. If others don't have a voice, let me be their voice. And there's a quote that I first heard in Spanish, and it goes, si debe ser, es mi deber. And it's translated to English is, if it is to be, it is up to me. And I think that really applies to every person, to every Bobcat here, and it applies to me. My name is Osmar Castro. I'm a junior at Marshalltown High School. Somos Marshalltown, somos Bobcats. We embrace the lead.
was perfect for today's presentation.
Anything else tonight? Then we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Wall Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Still have an exempt session too, so.
We're adjourned, but we do have an exempt session.